Now we can actually try to gather these observations and draw some conclusions. The first observation is that since transitions at the third position do not affect amino acid changes, and transversions at this position have only a minor effect on such changes, one can conclude that substitutions at the third position, and likely at the other positions as well, may occur randomly rather than in a directed manner. The second observation is that transitions at the third position between humans and chimpanzees occur in smaller numbers than in the other primates, which in turn suggests a process of random changes associated with the shorter time elapsed since the divergence of humans and chimpanzees compared to the other mammals. The third observation is that the number of substitutions is very similar for animals with the highest number of substitutions in a given group, which may suggest the possibility of constructing a phylogenetic tree with branches from a common ancestor. The above observations may lead to the conclusion that the process of adapting proteins to changes in the organism can occur through mutations, particularly substitutions occurring randomly, and through the elimination of defective or weaker products of these mutations. The survival of better adapted variants may result in a gradual improvement of the protein in response to the changing traits of the organism, which is especially evident for substitutions at the first and second positions that alter the protein. And the third conclusion: based on the substitution table, we can construct a phylogenetic tree with branches from a common ancestor. In response to these observations, we can formulate counter-arguments. That is, regarding the first and second observations, we can state our reservations as follows. Namely, the lack of information regarding the effect of transitions and transversions, especially at the third position, does not necessarily mean that they are, or particularly that they once were, insignificant. Transitions and transversions may have had or may still have significance unknown to us, which we can currently interpret only as random changes. And regarding the third point, a constant number of substitutions within a given group may also indicate not so much a steady passage of time, but rather a similar increase or similar reduction in the complexity of a common project, especially during its development phase. Substitutions at position 1 and 2, which alter protein properties, indicate adaptation to new, modified traits of the organism, although we do not currently observe such radical changes in organisms. And in formulating the final conclusions, we can state that due to the lack of factual confirmation for the evolutionary scenario of radical changes, as well as the lack of evidence for the possibility of life arising from non-living matter, which could be virtually simulated, observed in nature, or demonstrated under laboratory conditions, other scenarios for the origin of life should be considered, including the intelligent design scenario. This scenario may allow for the use of virtual evolution with its subsequent realization in the real world, but it should not be limited to it. Therefore, all information should be allowed into scientific debate, especially information ideologically excluded, for example, that coming from biblical revelation. Let us recall the previously discussed construction of a phylogenetic tree, in which we started from a low complexity design and in successive stages produced increasingly complex results, ultimately reaching the final target products. However, we can also construct a phylogenetic tree with the opposite direction of change, starting from a design of the highest complexity and through the successive branching steps, moving toward products or designs of a progressively reduced complexity, ultimately arriving at diversified products of the lowest comparable complexity. In this example of the tree, we see that by reducing complexity of the space station design, which we estimate at 100, we move to the design of an artificial satellite on the left branch, reducing the complexity by 20. The artificial satellite thus reaches a complexity value of 80. Next, the design is reduced along two paths, resulting in skateboard with a complexity of 1 and an electric scooter with a complexity of 4. Through further reductions of designs along the right branch, namely through a rocket, a jet airplane, a propeller aircraft, and a car, we ultimately obtain products of a similar complexity, such as a city bicycle, a folding bicycle, a road bicycle, a mountain bicycle, and an electric bicycle. These are products of low complexity at level ranging from 1 to 4. The lengths of the branches show the number of changes associated with the reduction of complexity leading to the desired final products. As in case of the tree with increasing complexity, differences in complexity are shown by the yellow blocks, and at the bottom, in the green fields, the final difference in complexity between the main design and the final product is displayed. I used a similar approach in a paper entitled Phylogenetic Aspects of the Concept of Intelligent Life Design, which I encourage you to read. I applied 3 design stages there, namely a stage of life planning and preparation of appropriate tools of the natural environment. In the first stage, the possibility of planning and simulating the emergence of life and the natural environment was assumed. The second stage is the development and adaptation of life to the planned assumptions. This stage involves testing and adjusting the organisms designed in the first stage. The third stage is the implementation phase, taking into account mechanisms for adaptation to changing natural environmental conditions. The study assumes a very simple simulation using random adaptation of the most complex set of genes to target organisms through gene reduction, which was intended to produce a distribution table and phylogenetic tree approximating the real one. In this presentation, this work will serve only as an example of one possible way to construct a complexity reduction tree.